Hi, everybody, and welcome to Chapter 4, Positive Behavior Support. In this chapter, we will be working on learning how to work with people in a positive manner, support the people we serve in their homes by using some of these skills. I'm going to screen share the PowerPoint, and I'm going to use the PowerPoint as a tool to keep me on track. So let's get started. We will go over the competencies of this training when we do our in-person meet and greet, but you do have them there in your RSC toolkit as well as on the slides. Behavior is a communication. Behavior is what a person does, not what they think, feel, or believe. Emily Dickinson. So, behavior serves a function. Why do you put your seatbelt on when you get in the car? Are you trying to avoid something or are you trying to get something? Well, it's a couple things. To get something is to get safe, right? If we get in a car accident, if you don't have your seatbelt on, you could go through the window, and that's not very safe. To avoid, in most cars now, they have a dinging light, and it's very annoying. It goes off until you put your seatbelt on. So you want to avoid that ding and that light because it will drive you nuts while you're driving. Also, there's avoiding a ticket. If you get pulled over, that's another $125 ticket you could get for not having your seatbelt on. So if we act a certain way, we sometimes it's to get what we want. There's also automatic reinforcement. Gives a person something without any input from someone else. So many of the people we serve have automatic reinforcement. It could be so much as shaking your knee when you're sitting down at the table. It could be rocking back and forth. It could be putting your arms up over your head and doing something like this. It could be clapping. Those are automatic reinforcements. It gives the person something without any input from anyone else. Also, there's to get something is like tangible objects, attention, control, or stimulation. Um, to avoid something is to keep something from happening. So if your boss tells you that they need to talk to you tomorrow when you come into work, and you interpret it as being something that's not so good, a behavior you might have is you might call in sick for work so that you can avoid having that conversation because it doesn't sound great. Um, you're avoiding something negative from happening or unwanted attention or undesired activity um, or environmental stimuli. So some people we work with put their hands over their ears and in order to keep the noise level down because it bothers them and it bothers them badly. All right. So behavior communicates to get something if you put people's behavior makes sense. If you think about it in the terms of goals, needs, and motives. So to get something, so uh, maybe you take somebody to Goodwill and they want to buy a video. Um, but they only have enough money for one video, but they want to buy five. And they refuse to put it back on the shelf. And instead, so all you can do is go with them up to the cashier, have the cashier ring them up, and you say, "Oh no, you don't have enough money. You have enough money for one video." So let's say that person that you're supporting starts to reach and grab for those videos or has an outburst. He wants those videos and he's willing to go to any means to get them to avoid something. So, as we develop new beliefs about who we are, our behavior will change to support the new identity. Well, if you're working with this person and they know or they don't know you very well, and you say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we can't have this behavior. Now it's time to leave," right? And you go to walk out the door and you say, "I'm leaving now." If they don't know you very well, that is the time where you can set up a behavior change where they avoid being left behind. And so they'll just automatically come with you to leave. And they will be avoiding um, being left at the store. All right, what's next? Communication. Communication can be difficult when you're unable to use words to deliver the message you want someone to receive. So in the next couple of slides, show a situation in which someone wants to communicate but cannot because they do not have the verbal skills to do so. How might you communicate these things? I'm thinking of a day my mother visited me 6 months ago. I miss her. That would be really hard to communicate if you didn't have the ability to do so. Um, could be so much as maybe pointing at a day on the calendar or having your mom's picture and pointing at the picture of your mom and then pointing at the calendar, or maybe crying. Um, so these are all scenarios. I want you to think about these scenarios and be ready to talk about them during our check-in. What do you think about might be difficult about trying to communicate these scenarios? How do you know if you've understood what they are saying? Would you feel like giving up? Would you find yourself frustrated to the point of physically or verbally acting out? Yeah, I can imagine so. It would be very challenging to want to communicate something which you can't. Um, how would your behavior change if this was your life? So work on page 39 in your toolkit. Fill out the escalation cycle and the escalation behaviors. We'll talk about this more in person, um, but it's good to know how behavior, um, what baseline is, what an escalated behavior looks like, the peak of the behavior, and then the de-escalation. It's not it's not quite like the um, ride that you think it is. It's actually a little bit bumpier on the way down, but that's okay, and we can talk about it more. In toolkit page 40, in blanks, 5 blanks, fill out the support techniques you believe will work best with the person you serve. It is not listed on the page, write it in anyway. Remember, this is person-centered thinking, and what you may use could be different from someone else's techniques. We're not always going to use the same techniques as someone else. You're going to need to figure out what works best for you. Oftentimes, what has worked for me has not always worked for other DSPs. Could be a matter of status. A lot of times, the people we serve feel like certain members of a team have more status than others, which gives them what is perceived as more power. And so the people we serve might act differently because of that. Try and find your way and come up with techniques and ways that have come through the built rapport you have with the person you're serving. What are some reasons why a person's behavior may change? Could be for any number of reasons. It could be medication changes, medical history, side effects, a good day or bad day, frustration, misunderstandings, not feeling heard. It could be so much as getting a phone call from a sister or a brother or a mom or a dad or any kind of relative. They deliver bad news and you don't know it. And then when you do find out, it's after the fact. So make sure that anytime you see a behavior change, check it out. Find out what happened before that. Behavior does not happen in a vacuum. It's not just like, oh, I'm good, and then all of a sudden I'm bad. We are constantly reminded of things all the time, too. Certain smells, certain activities, certain places that we visit can have an impact on how our behavior is. It can bring back memories, and our behavior can change without us even knowing it. Just because of where we're at. So pay attention to those things. Ask questions and, look at different notes. Like maybe someone wrote in a therap note that so-and-so went to the park today and a dog ran up to them and was barking at them. Well, maybe that person had a bad experience with a dog and it frightened them so badly that they were having a hard time getting over it. Think about those things. All right, this is a kill off video and this is the URL that you will use to go to the video. Again, I wish I could show it in this video, but Zoom does not like to do that. So please go and watch the video. It's a good video. It shows how different attitudes and different circumstances can change behavior for the positive or for the negative. And sometimes we just need to look at the bigger picture. And sometimes we don't know what the bigger picture is, but knowing what it is might help us to understand. Setting events. So after reviewing the video, did you see what the setting event was for a bad day for the character? What about a good day? What contributed to behavior change? Stress is always an impact on our behavior. Now look at these scenarios and think about how you could use environment and setting events to improve an individual's experience. A young man who uses a wheelchair is frustrated because he wants to prepare his own food, but his kitchen is not very accessible. This causes his staff to prepare the food for him since it's easier. Well, is that a reason for this person not to be able to cook food if that's something they really, really want to do? No, absolutely not. There's always some way we can make um, things available for the people we serve. We just sometimes have to be creative. Um, I had somebody that I was serving in a wheelchair, and growing up, he liked him and his family would eat at the dining room table, um, you know, at least dinner, at least lunch or dinner. So he would like to come out, and this was a very big motivator and eat at the table. So, I didn't have any blocks or anything to raise this table up with. So I used some books that I found and I put them under each one of the um, table legs and raised it up. And that made it easier for him to come out, to sit at the table, to eat food. And he loved it. He enjoyed every minute of it. So think about your surroundings and how it can be more accessible to the people you're working with. What triggers you? On page 39 in your toolkit, jot down what might start a day for you in a bad way and write something that might trigger you even further. Bad traffic, being late, a latte not made right, etc. Getting the wrong food when you go through McDonald's. Now write down how you might de-escalate yourself so your day doesn't get worse. Um, Having the ability to cope with difficult situations is probably one of the hardest things we can do as a human being. And with all the demands placed on us now, with, you know, uh, COVID being close to its end, let's all hope. There's going to be even more demands. There's going to be more traffic. There's going to be more people out in the community, and it's going to be more crowded than it ever has been before. Um, Keeping that in mind. What time of day do you want to go out? If you're not someone who likes to be in the throes of all of the traffic and community, you might have to consider um, working a later shift or working an earlier shift or planning ahead the day before so that you're not triggered. Because there's definitely a lot of things out there now that can be rather triggering, especially here in Bellingham with the Canadian border just right down the way. So this is a URL for It's Not About the Nail. This is a great video about validation and what real validation looks like. We're natural helpers. We want to solve problems. That's just what we do. And we're good at it too. We're good at helping people. We love to help people. It's our passion and we want to do it, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So watching It's Not About the Nail is a really good way to see how sometimes our helping skills can actually get in the way of listening. Sometimes the people we serve just need to be heard. They just need to be listened. And one of the things that I learned from very, very first on is that If you're working with someone and they're telling you something and it's obvious that it's upsetting for them, when I validate them first, man, it really sounds like you're having a hard time today. You can really see the change in their body. You can see the change in the way they're holding themselves. You can see them take a deep breath and let it out. And you can see them just de escalate all on their own because somebody has heard them, somebody has validated that they are having a hard time. And I can't tell you how much that really helps the psyche. You really have to experience it for yourself if you haven't already. And I'm sure you guys are doing an excellent job validating. But remember, validate, validate, validate. And you're validating feelings and emotions. We're not validating behavior. So we're not saying, oh, I see why you did that. If they decided to pound their fist down, oh, I can see why you did that. No, we don't want to validate negative behavior. But we can say, wow, it really looks like you're upset. Now we validated their feelings, not the behavior. And then when we validate their feelings and they de-escalate, we can say, how could you handle that differently? And they're open to that information and direction. But we always validate first. And if you watch the video, what did he do that finally demonstrated active listening? Be an active listener. Keep yourself open. Look like you're ready to receive this information. Just listen to somebody. Don't interrupt them. Sometimes staying quiet is the hardest part. Nobody likes silence. But sometimes you have to give the person the space to own it, have it for themselves, and just be present for them. All right, we're getting close to the end. Be prepared to discuss. People we work with are in their own home. What makes our job unique? Even though we have worked with someone for some time, we should still use all the rules we would apply to entering a stranger's home. So we knock on the door and they come to the door. Hi, Jack. How are you doing today? I'm doing good. Is it okay if I come in? Yeah, sure. Come on in. Okay. We need them to have that power and choice. They say no, then what do you do? Has he said no before? Maybe. Okay. How about if you give me can we give it 5 minutes? So my clock says it's 8. At 8:05, do you think you could let me in? Okay. Thanks. Give people choices. Um, how does this change the culture of the workplace? How do you like people to enter your home? What does it mean to respect another person's home? We don't put our feet up on the table. We don't just sit back in a chair and chill out. Oh, yeah, this is comfortable. We need to be alert and attentive. We need to be ready to support. Um, we need to use our phones as little as possible, if at all. Um, we're not just going to come in and turn on their TV to what we want to watch. It's not our TV. We're going to support them with what they want to watch. We're going to ask questions about their morning and how their evening was and, family. We're going to be respectful of the place they live. We're going to ask them, hey, I know that you got pictures of you and your sister last week. Should we print some out and put them up on the walls? Like, help them arrange their life so it matches the things that they love. And have you ever seen a staff show disrespect when entering a person's home? And what did that look like? The next scenarios, we've heard discuss how staff would have done things differently, what made the scenarios unprofessional, what difficult conversations may arise from the behaviors displayed by staff. So I'm not going to go into detail with them, but these are the two scenarios, and be prepared to talk about them in the check-in. But there's obviously some things that need to change here. Consequences. So, natural consequences, which may be positive or negative, they are universal and would occur with any of us, a result of action or inaction, not imposed by staff, based on social norms, not punishment, the best teacher for future behavior. So, for example, you and Jack go to the store. Jack has $5. He decides that he wants to get a bag of chips. That's $4.99. Well, you know that with tax, it's going to be over the $5 amount. Now, you can say before you get there, hey, Jack, I'm just going to prepare you that when we get up to the register, there is going to be tax and you will go over. So you may want to contemplate getting a smaller bag. It's your choice. And they might say, no, I'm going to get it. I have enough. So you might have to go up to the register and have them experience the clerk saying, oh, I'm sorry, you don't have enough money. Now, if they turn to you and say, oh, my staff will cover it, what are you going to do? Are you going to be like, yeah, okay, I'll get it because it's embarrassing, or you're feeling uncomfortable? Or are you going to say, no, Jack, I told you before we got to the register this might happen. We can go back and get a smaller bag if that's what you'd like to do. Or we could go home, and then they will choose what they want to do. Or they can get something different, or you can choose something different. Whatever happens surely will occur. But if we can take ourselves out of the scenario as much as possible, that is the best possible outcome to create a natural consequence. So positive behavior support. Um, if you have any questions, we can talk about it at the check-in. The most important thing about positive behavior support, I feel, is that we don't make assumptions about what the behavior means. Remembering that behavior is a tool for communication, and we all do it. We all have behavior. The only difference is that some of us have um, communication style that gets our needs met without behavior. So look for the antecedents, which are the triggers that come before the behavior, and be ready to support the individual you're serving with trying to make better choices by giving them options, be an active listener, and do some reflective listening, um, and really just being present for them and hearing what they're saying. Validate, validate, validate. All right, that's it for chapter 4. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good day. I'll see you next time.